Hello and welcome to Doctor's Orders here at the Chrissy B Show. I'm Dr. Rob Hicks. Today we're going to be talking about osteoporosis. This is a condition where the bones become very thin, very fragile, and therefore they're more likely to break. You may have heard the condition called brittle bone disease, and it affects around about 3 million people in the UK. Now, the problem with osteoporosis are the fractures that it causes, the breaks in the bone. Every year in the UK, over 300,000 fractures occur because of osteoporosis, often of the wrist or of the hip or of the spine. But fractures can happen to any bone in the body. And it doesn't have to be a major accident that causes them either. A minor injury, even walking down a hallway and knocking your wrist against a door frame, can result in a fracture if you've got osteoporosis. And one of the problems of bone fractures, of course, is they're painful. And they lead to disability, they lessen a person's independence, and often they lead to isolation and depression, and tragically, a number of people will die after suffering a fracture because of osteoporosis. So just why does osteoporosis happen? Well, every day we are losing bone cells, but we're also replacing these bone cells. Now, in early years, up to about the age of 30, we generate more bone cells than we actually lose. In fact, over the course of 10 years, we remodel, we regenerate the whole skeleton. So we get a brand new skeleton every 10 years. But from our 30s onwards, we lose more bone cells than we actually replace. And for women after the menopause, that process of bone loss is accelerated, which is why women in particular are more at risk of osteoporosis. So as the years go by, if we're losing more bone cells than we're actually making, the bones are going to become weaker, more fragile, and more likely to break. So who's at risk of osteoporosis? Well, if you're a woman and you go through the menopause earlier than planned, you're at greater risk. If you drink too much alcohol, or if you're a smoker, then you're at greater risk. And if you're a woman and you lose your periods for more than 6 months because of the way that you diet or because of over-exercising, you're also at greater risk of osteoporosis. Some medical conditions put people at greater risk, as do some treatments like steroids for inflammatory conditions. They increase the risk of osteoporosis, and it can run in the family. Now, there are lots of ways that we can prevent osteoporosis, or at least reduce our risk of osteoporosis. A healthy lifestyle, getting rid of the risk factors, so not smoking, for example, not overdoing it with the alcohol, that's very important. A diet that's packed with calcium and vitamin D, which we need for strong bones, is very important, as is exercise, weight-bearing exercise, because when you do weight-bearing exercise, you stress the bones, helping them to develop and remain strong. And it's never too late to invest in your bones. Ideally, invest in your bones as early as possible, because the stronger they are to begin with, the longer it will take for that process of osteoporosis to develop. Of course, one of the problems is bone fractures. If you already have osteoporosis, then there may be, or you're at risk of osteoporosis, then there are medications available that your doctor can recommend to reduce your risk of fractures. But also, it's important to avoid falls. Now, I know I said it wasn't just falls and major injuries that can increase the risk of osteoporosis fractures, but generally speaking, most osteoporosis fractures are a consequence of injuries like falls. So how do you go about reducing your risk of falls? Well, one is to do lots of exercise, because that keeps the muscles strong, that keeps the joints strong, and it improves your balance. And if your balance is good, you're less likely to fall down. Also, have a look around your home at the things that may literally trip you up. So trailing electrical cables, loose rugs. Get rid of those so that they don't cause you a problem. And make sure rooms are well lit so you can see these trip hazards in advance, giving you a better chance of avoiding them. Now, if you think that you may be at risk of osteoporosis, or indeed you've got osteoporosis in the family, then do have a chat with your own doctor to see whether you should be tested. And that's Doctor's Orders.